As we told you, Joe's never cared about climate change. This is Bernie's plan.
That was a graphic from Wednesday's edition of Jesse Waters' show on primetime, featuring what was a very anti-Semitic graphic of Bernie Sanders holding the puppet strings of Joe Biden. Great. Now, look, Bernie Sanders, of course, is Jewish. He lost family in the Holocaust. And here we have a Fox News host that is claiming that Bernie Sanders is pulling Joe Biden's puppet strings, which again goes back to a very, very old anti-Semitic trope, the Jewish puppet master, right? It dates back centuries. So that's the anti-Semitic trope, right? And already disgusting. But then let's go to the facts, right? The facts where he's completely wrong. Now, the one thing I guess that he might be a little bit correct on is I don't think Joe Biden really cares that much about climate change. At least not as much as younger people, because he seems to, be okay with opening up oil and gas drills and, all that stuff, and not pushing hard for, and again, this goes against Jesse Waters' narrative, pushing for the Green New Deal, which he is not. Now, look, Biden should actually be declaring a climate emergency in order to do those policies. He's actually not doing that. He's not doing the Green New Deal. I wish he was. I wish he would plagiarize Bernie Sanders and actually do what Bernie Sanders wanted him to do. I do wish this was true, but he's not. He should be, because climate change is happening right now, and we do need massive investments in clean renewable energy. I reported for the last couple of days, Europe is on fire. We've had record temperatures. We've seen them in the UK. We've seen them in Spain, in France, Germany, not to mention all the other places that it's affected, not just recently, but in the past, other heat waves. Outside of the West, you had Australia, you had heat waves in the Middle East. The Arctic has been melting. You've had huge heat waves in India. All of this has had an impact. All of this has had an effect. Okay? It doesn't just affect us in the United States. And again, we only really pay attention to it, unfortunately, when it is in the United States or in the West, like in the UK. But no, it's been affecting other people, other countries, and yes, even all of us for quite some time now. It's just now that people are being forced to pay attention to it, because it's very, very clear that this is no longer freak occurrences, freak weather. No, this is normalized now. Everybody is affected. It's not just, our clean air going over to China or China's air coming over here. No. Everybody is affected. Everybody's affected. The earth is warmer. It continues to get warmer, and it's getting warmer faster than human beings and other species that we rely on to survive can adapt to. But yet here we have this bigot in Fox News primetime putting out openly anti-Semitic fake imagery for political gain. And gain, of course, to protect oil companies and oil profits. Now, is Jesse Waters going to get in trouble for this? No, of course not. Jesse Waters is not going to get talked to. He's not going to get removed from the air. No, he doesn't care at all. Doesn't care at all. And neither does Fox News. But the intended effect here, too, is to distract, as I mentioned, oil company profits, right? Because now we're here talking about something different than climate change. We're not talking about the Green New Deal. Instead, we're talking about anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. I mean, this is almost like Jewish space lasers from Marjorie Taylor Greene causing forest fires. No, those forest fires, again, dry conditions exacerbated by climate change, drought conditions that are droughts that are longer and drier and more often, causing forest fires, because all you need is a little spark, lightning strike, whatever. And then you have a gigantic blaze that is almost impossible to put out due to these dry conditions. Again, all exacerbated by climate change. We're not talking about that. She'd rather talk about space lasers that don't exist and some weirdo anti-Semitic conspiracy theory than the fact that the very real fact that we are putting out massive amounts of carbon and methane greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, and we've been doing so for a very, very long time, and now it's finally caught up to us. And we're still not doing anything because they don't want to. But no. We're talking about conspiracy theories. We're talking about George Soros. We're talking about Bernie Sanders controlling Biden. Like, again, I said, I wish Bernie Sanders and the squad were controlling Joe Biden. Maybe then we'd actually have Medicare for all. But then, segments like this are also dog whistles to attract neo-Nazis and white nationalists. They hate Jewish people, they hate black people, they hate Latinos, etc. And Jesse Waters is trying to get those people to watch, and he's doing so by sending the signal of, hey, I'm one of you, I got your back. And for everybody else watching Fox News, there's another effect, and that's trying to tie in Biden's policies with progressives, trying to say that they're one and the same, which they're definitely not. Let's be very, very clear. President Biden hasn't done any of the Bernie Sanders policy proposals. No, not at all. Not at all. Again, he's barely done even any of his own progressive, or I should say policy proposals, much less progressive policy proposals. And there's different reasons for that, of course. There's Republicans that have been consistently blocking him, as well as members of his own party, Joe Manchin, Kyrsten Sinema. Joe Manchin is a literal coal baron who doesn't want to do anything about climate change because it's actually going to affect his bottom line. No, you can't do that. But right-wingers cannot point to any actual policy that Joe Biden has done to create conditions that people are dealing with today. Because there is none. Aside from some executive orders, which are, again, mixed, right? A bipartisan infrastructure bill that was filled with corporate pork that's not actually going to get into effect. It's not in effect yet. It's going to take years and years for that infrastructure to be built and repaired. Then you have a COVID bill. Aside from that, there really hasn't even been really any changes. Again, Biden did promise his donors nothing will fundamentally change. And guess what? That's happened. We don't have Medicare for all. We don't have a Green New Deal. We don't have drug pricing reform. We don't have we don't have student loan debt canceled. We don't have paid family leave. We don't even have a child tax credit. We don't have any of that stuff. So what is Jesse Waters talking about? No, what he's doing is obvious, and he is tying Biden to Bernie Sanders because, for one, Bernie Sanders is actually the most popular politician in this country. Now, you might think, wait a minute, tying those two together, wouldn't that help Joe Biden? No. Joe Biden has incredibly low popularity. It's worse than Donald Trump. That's insane. Now, interestingly enough, they're trying to use Joe Biden to drag down Bernie by tying the failures of the Biden administration to do anything onto Bernie Sanders and progressives. And of course, most importantly, the policies, because it's not just about Bernie Sanders. It's not about Joe Biden. It's about the policies. Okay. It's about progressive policies versus conservative policies and so-called centrist policies or corporate policies, right? Now, it turns out when you talk about just the policies, those are incredibly popular even among Republicans. Progressive policies, yes, are popular among Republicans. And they hate that. And so what they're trying to do is they're trying to paint Biden's policies the same as Bernie's by saying that Bernie is actually in control. The squad's in control. The ultra left is in control. Again, not true, to try to tank those policies because they point to it and say, well, look, they had all their radical left-wing policies in place and look what happened. It's worse. But no, that's just not reality at all. At all. And again, Fox News is not the only people that are doing this. You have cable news. Cable news, CNN, MSNBC, they also do it. Why? Because they're corporate owned. Progressive policies might actually have a negative impact on the profit margins of those corporations. Waters doing the same thing. But now Waters is doing it differently than mainstream media, because it's tailored to a specific incredibly bigoted and conspiratorial demographic. But it's the same result, right? It's just part of an effort to try to prevent popular, progressive, and necessary policies to fight climate change and to make people's lives better from ever getting passed.